You left us to fight.
What is going on? We're going to do a little NFT market talk, market update for August 14th, 2026. The old NFT market is dead. We're looking at what's actually happening right now. And it seems like what's left is colder, quieter, and a little more selective than most people would like to admit. Everyone is kind of waiting for these 2021 charts to return with capital and attention. And it's just not shifting like that. It's just a little different. And you can't ignore Robinhood Chain is absorbing volume at a rate that keeps blowing minds. It's staggering. We're going to get into some charts in a minute. The thing that I love the most is we're seeing experiments on chain that actually matter. And not only are things happening that are magical, it's inspiring other people to continue to push the envelope. And it's inspiring people to put in some work and be a part of these things that are coming down the pike. It's fucking awesome to see. And like we'll get into stockbrokers and all that stuff. It is just, I don't know. It's an interesting time, and I wanted to look at a couple things. We're going to get into it in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
You got a head full of products and a mouth full of judgment. It's baloney, I don't make any kind of sense. They kiss you on the cheek while you're in need of sheep. They got 1,000 naked photos shoving up in your face, yeah. But yeah, folks starting button pushing, putting on their heads. They're gonna turn their sides to hell and nothing is there. They got a master's degree, and when she won't she got so much fire on inside, I just got choke on the smoke, yeah. Personality, personality, but he's a living for this moment, keeping this not real now. But I'll never show you to when he's touching his evening dress. On the street, see the people way up high and now power hungry honey is living the dream, yeah. So he used you when he left you just about to be seen, yeah.
I have not heard that song in a long time. That was a band that I used to play with a long time ago, and I just stumbled across that track, and it made me happy today. Anyway, let's get into some of the things that I am watching. All right, so first up, I don't know, because I'm kind of a history nerd, I always check on what happened on this day in history. And that photo that we're looking at right now, this is the famous VJ Day kiss. It was snapped by a gentleman named Alfred Eisenstadt. And he was at Times Square, August 14th, this date, 1945. This is the day that Japan surrendered and World War II finally called it quits. The woman's name, her name is Greta Zimmer Friedman. She was 21 years old. She was a dental assistant. And the sailor, his name is George Mendoza. He spotted her and just grabbed her. And I don't know, this photographer, this Time Life photographer caught the photo. And this is one of the most iconic photos of all time. And when this photo was snapped, I think 35 years went by before they figured out who the participants were in the photo. And for years, people would say it was me. And finally, I think it wasn't until 1980 that they finally tracked down the two people that are in this photo. So I don't know, it's just kind of cool. So, and then let's just get into some of the things that are happening super quick before we get into some NFT stuff and Robinhood stuff. Crypto greed and fear index, blah, 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 34, it's flat. I like to look at that because that's going to change. And I think it's going to change coming up in September and October. And it's a good normie reflection of what they are doing. I checked the crypto potato. They got some good news. The only thing that I saw that was interesting, everybody knows about this Trezor breach, and that's absolutely hectic. CZ doubled down on it, and he says software wallets avoid risk seen in the Trezor leak. What's interesting is, are we going to go with the software wallets, or are we going to go for the SEXs, the centralized exchanges? I think what a lot of people are opting to do is get an extra phone and keep that offline and have that be their wallet for transactions. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We had Zach XBT. He calls the entire category unfit for serious use. He wrote that on Telegram, saying all hardware wallets are complete garbage. Other than that, everybody knows what's happened in the news. This is what I wanted to touch on super quick. This is DEX volume over the last year. And we are basically looking at August to August. So it doesn't even matter what happened last year. Well, it does. I mean, it's very similar to the summer pattern this year. What I'm wondering is, are we going to have a monumental September and October? And all of the 4-year cycle people say it will come to fruition. I hope it does. It seems like on so many fronts, we are poised to have all of these things just take off, which makes me super happy. Checking in on the live Bitcoin halving countdown, 606 days. Current Bitcoin price, 63,000 and change. We will take it. Blocks remaining, 87,490. Interesting stuff. Now, let's get into some of this stuff, because this is the Robinhood stuff. And this stuff, it's blowing me away. This chain is 2 weeks old. And 6 weeks old. And it is already absolutely one of the loudest chains we have ever seen. Solana is always kicking up dust. And we've seen so many different companies come down the pike. And I don't even want to name them. They're a dime a dozen. This is different. This is a connection with a broader market. And we are about to see the weaving of these two things happen. And it plays into NFT and the art. And I want to talk about all that stuff because we'll get to that in a sec. Robinhood, so these guys are offering stock tokens Now they are going to be available to trade 24/7 in 120 countries. They're using all of this stuff as part of their DeFi solution moving forward. The TVL is sitting above $500 million. Daily transactions are cranking around 11 million. DEX volume is regularly printing hundreds of millions of dollars. The distribution we're talking about here, it is real. It's absolutely crazy. And let me just, so some DeFi Llama's always got some great stats for what's happening. I stumbled across growthepie.com, and they have a great Robinhood dashboard with a bunch of analytics that I find really interesting if you want to deep dive into that. And then we get to Dune Analytics and Adam Tech. He's got some good stats on how the trenches are doing for Robinhood, and it's staggering some of the things that are happening. Let's see, what do I want? So we had this initial pump, and it seems like it's faded a bit, but we are like, this is the slowest time of the year. This is the end of the summer season. People are getting in their last hurrah before they go back to school. Congress is on break, right? They're not back in. When Congress gets back in session, for whatever reason, that momentum that comes with that sends everything ballistic. And the September, and people say October, and they say it for a reason. And if that happens again, I think we will be sitting really pretty. So now, because we're talking about the Robinhood stuff, right? And if you think about Robinhood, what they're doing on the general scope, they have distribution, huge distribution. Now we have this new NFT collection called Stockbrokers that has been doing stuff in parallel with Robinhood's rollout, and in essence with their distribution model, which is even crazier. I don't know. It's so, to me, Stockbrokers is absolutely the clear leader right now. And I just want to, let me switch this dashboard over and let's just look at what's happening on Robinhood. Okay. Stockbrokers are currently at 12.65 Ethereum. Okay. This is a collection that came out July 2026. So I believe OX Farmer was saying about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the movement on this stuff has just been exactly like the Robinhood chain, exactly like the Robinhood chain, which is really fucking interesting. So Stockbrokers to me is the clear leader right now. Go back to collections. We're still in Robinhood. You know what I mean? Robinhood, they're leading it everywhere. It doesn't even matter what we're talking about, right? CryptoPunks I'll talk about CryptoPunks in a minute, but to see Stockbrokers, the number 3 for floor volume, about to pass Grifters, which is amazing. And it's the thing that is absolutely amazing to me is we're getting to where NFTs really mean something. And they have this inherent value. What sucks right now is a lot of the art on Robinhood Chain, it sucks. And to me, that's the honest truth. To me, they are developing a technology and implementing that into this NFT basket. And yes, it shows that for floor price to goes up, sometimes the art is irrelevant. But what if the art wasn't? What if the art was relevant? And not only did people fall in love with the financial aspect and the technology involved in the NFT, you hit a second nerve and let them fall in love with it as something beautiful. And I think at first we got off on just the beauty track. Now we're going down the tech track. When these two meet in the same lane, which I think we're getting to that point, though, what just had their reveal? Mansers or man, something. I mean, it reminds me of early Solana art. That's just, I mean, I think I saw some, I don't know. One of these guys was holding a flower watering can. I don't even know what that is. I don't know. There's such an opportunity to combine amazing art with this amazing tech, and it hasn't happened yet. And we are so close. We saw Sprite hoods. These guys just detonated. Former Pudgy co-founder Cole, he dropped a 44,000 piece collection. Sold out in under an hour, over $1 million in the first hour. Secondary is still loud as fuck. Cash Cats, Chain Mancers, a handful of others are spinning lots of volume every day. And it's funny, a bunch of people got in on the Cash Cat, and I got in on that NFT early. And it went up a bit, and I decided to sell. And my thesis to sell was that one, I sold the day before the Cash Cat announcement by Vlad. So that kind of sucked. But my thesis was I didn't want an NFT that was so closely tied with a token's performance, because it will get dumped in it. Like I'm just not I'm not able to time that stuff well, clearly. But I think the Cash Cat is interesting. I love I just love that kind of that, I don't know, that mishmash art. I don't even know what you call it. When we look at this stuff, the Robinhood chain, it's outpacing Ethereum in a big way. I don't know, when we look at some of these other things that are minting, so much of it is garbage, derivative, low effort, generative sludge. It's meme trash. The floors are thin. But you know what happens is these normies are starting to come in. And if you look at Robinhood Chain and you look at the one-day chain, or excuse me, the one-day price change, some of these NFTs are rising in 7,000%. I mean, that's absolutely insane. So what are these priced at? These are $17 right now. And look at this. I mean, this is quality. Listen, Destiny Hardness. This is some just beautiful. This is good art. This is fabulous, fabulous art. But maybe it's going to cook. Maybe it's going to cook. But when these projects rise at 7,000% in a day, who cares what it looks like? It looks, I mean, you know, these probably minted for free. So it's tough to figure out. It's tough not to look at the percentage change and watch these things and decide I want to jump in on this. But what also happens is, okay, we've only had 5 sales in an hour. We've had 1,000 sales today. I don't know. I don't even know what to think about some of this stuff. I really don't. I know the crypto punks are, to me, still one of the only things that feels real and untouchable. I do constantly think about how that narrative will change when stockbrokers' floor price surpasses CryptoPunks. And possibly it'll do it just for the economic trajectory that those are on, and kind of the inherent wallet that they bring and all of the perks and things that nobody else has done. This Anvil protocol is so amazing. So when Polygon came out, when all these other chains started doing stuff in the NFT space, and we saw collections on Solana decide, we're going to leave Solana and go to Poly. We're going to leave Poly and go to Ethereum. We're going to do it on Bitcoin, whatever it is. What's crazy is I just totally lost where I was going with this. Oh, no. I did for a second. We saw collections decide to hop chains. Instead of doing, and maybe going to Robinhood is part of the answer, but what if some of these collections inherit the tech that OX Farmer has brought and couple it with their current NFT? Possibly they have to mint on Robinhood and do a 1-for-1, but let's move the ecosystem forward for everybody. There can still be pure art plays, and I love the pure art plays, but this is a different kind of opportunity. And even with the art plays, I was postulating, why can't we use the Anvil to generate pieces of or digitize shares of art and have people move toward acquiring, I don't know, museum art pieces, and have that, instead of holding stocks, we're holding shares of a shared Picasso. I think all of these things are really interesting and worth investigating, especially with this infrastructure, right? Like it's distribution on steroids to me, which is, that's the normies, right? Distribution, easy for them to get. I'm not even going to talk about what I'm thinking about doing, but the distribution is such a key thing of where we need to be thinking about this. Real retail distribution. Man, these token-bound wallets, they can hold anything that's digital. It doesn't need to be stocks. It can be shares in digital gold. All of this brings super fast, cheap rails, deflationary experiments, and financial products are sitting under this culture layer, right? The tech's ready, the distribution is ready, the money's here. We just don't have the art that deserves it yet. I don't know. I want to see, we're about to see a really interesting evolution in this space. And it's amazing. You know what I mean? Even thinking about, like, let's even take one piece. I heard somewhere that they are working on digitizing some of these TCG games and some of these collectible cards. I don't think we're that far off from these cards having, each card, I'm saying cards, like I have a box of Azuki cards right here. Are we that far off from each card having a digital footprint? I mean, we're so close to the tech being there. It can be seamless in the card. If these cards had a digital footprint, imagine playing a TCG game, and when you put your card down, the digital footprint is read, not for grading for this purpose, but this digital footprint is read, and digitally, you know, the powers, the moves, the points that you can score if you use this attack. We're at this point where tech is going to weave into all of this stuff. When you know what, it's funny. I went to the first, excuse me. I went to the first Azuki when they first released this, and they had a learn to play the game. And I just went out of curiosity because I wanted to understand what TCG was. I wanted to see what this new product was. And my takeaway from going to this event, one, I was the first NFT person they had ever spoken with. None of these people knew there was an NFT involved with this Azuki TCG game. And I initially I didn't talk about that stuff. I just wanted to hear where they were, what they thought of this stuff. And these guys have been playing Magic the Gathering for forever. The guy owns a game shop. I mean, he's into this stuff. And this was the first time the owner of this game shop ever opened the cards and got to play. And it was a tournament, and they were teaching us how to play and doing a bunch of walkthroughs, and it was awesome. But what was cool was as these experienced one card and Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, these guys have been playing this shit forever. As they played this Azuki game, they were impressed. One, because there are game mechanics that Azuki has figured out that they haven't stumbled across in TCG. Two, the artwork. I mean, they just loved everything about it. And when there was another guy who got a full case, and he literally ripped through every single box. And when he started opening these things, I said, don't you want to open those with scissors? You know, like, and be careful. Like, you might have some good stuff in there. And he looked at me like I was nuts. He just wanted to look at all the cards immediately. And he made a huge pile of trash. And what was interesting is the owner was watching him. He was saying, I'll buy that card off you. This one I'll buy off you. So the owner of the store, he just finished playing his first couple of games. They're looking at the art, and he's watching one of his customers open a full case of these things in the game shop, which is kind of cool. People go to these game shops and they buy the cards and open them there and trade them and talk to each other. And it's an IRL event that you just show up, and they're a group of people that are really welcoming and a pleasure to be around. So it was awesome to go to this event. But watching the owner play the game, love it, be impressed by it, watch his customer rip through hundreds of packs for 2 hours while he was playing his game, then saying, I want to buy these cards off you. And when I left, I started talking about the NFT aspect. And he said, well, what do you mean? And one of the cards he bought was the card that Zagabond is on. And I went to X and I pulled up Zagabond's PFP, and I said, this is the person who rocks that as his PFP. It's an NFT, and it's on that card that you just bought off of your buddy. And I said, have you guys ever collected NFTs? And the scam. I mean, just the standard argument, and I just let them say their piece. And their thought is physical collectibles will always take precedent over digital collectibles. Okay. We continued to talk. And at the time, I had a really nice Grail Azuki. And when I pulled out my phone and I showed him, I said, hey, this is my NFT, and told him a little bit about it. And I said, a lot of the NFTs in the collection are featured in these cards. And if you are a collector, you just watched your client pull some rares and you bid on those because you thought they had value. As your collector mentality goes down this Azuki rabbit hole, you will end up where it started. And it started as an NFT project. And to think that a true collector will not want to have the full walkthrough of the evolution of something that they've fallen in love with is a mistake, in my opinion. I think it's going to take maybe 2 more years before these Azuki TCG players continue to fall in love with the game and continue to go down the rabbit hole collecting and thinking, wow, I can own the digital piece of this that initiated this game. So this cycle that we're getting ready to bridge, it's interesting to watch it in real time. And if you've been in this space for a minute, nothing happens here as quick as we want it to, but it happens instantly at the same time. Watching the evolution of digital art move into you know what, it's funny, the digital art aspect and the NFT side of it, it's important because it deals with provenance and it proves who the artist is, and it lets you track your artwork with it, which is something that's never been able to occur. Now we can add actual tech onto that same piece of artwork, and I believe that artists will get inspired by this tech. And it doesn't have to be a stock or a share in a digitized piece of artwork. It can be something new that we haven't tried yet. It can be, I don't know, it could be a ticket to an experience later down the road. It could be anything. So seeing this tech come alive and become something that excited me from the beginning is awesome. And OX Farmer has just kicked it out of the park, and it's wonderful to see his tenacity and his focus and his understanding of what the market is missing and figuring out how to fill that gap. And Robinhood, what a good choice. And it's nice to see Vlad kind of come out of the woodwork, and I don't know. Well, I hope he gets on board with this stuff. It's been really interesting to watch. And I don't know. We're so close to these gaps being totally filled. I don't know. The second that gap that I'm talking about gets filled, we are on to a different evolution, I think. We really are. And as far as art collections go, I want to pull up Satari. So this is, FaZe is one of my favorite artists right now, and his collection I love. And what I am looking at, I want to see, okay. So we have, what do we got? How many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So about 6 hours ago, and I just saw this on OpenSea, the executioner went to work. And so what does that mean? The executioner, part of the proceeds that come from all of the sales of Phrase's artwork, a portion of that goes to the executioner's wallet. And the executioner, with no rhyme or reason, there is no time signature to when he clocks in or clocks out, the executioner periodically will go to work and he will put some bids out. And the souls who have lost their faith decide that they, oh, and you know what? And this is what's interesting as well. So sometimes the executioner puts out bids. It seems like 6 hours ago, the executioner went and purchased. So sometimes they're bids, sometimes they're purchases. What's interesting about this is every one of these NFTs will be burned. They will be sent to the burn address. Let's see, do we have transfers yet? Okay, so 6 hours ago, all of those NFTs that were purchased by the executioner were burned at the null address. Awesome. So what does that mean? The collection started at 2,400 pieces. There are currently 2,132 remaining. Now, there's an absolutely brilliant website. I'll click it here real quick. SatariMustDie.com. What's interesting about this, you can go and see all of the outputs that were created. This is what's more interesting is you can go to the kill path and you can select your NFT, and then you can decide what NFT you would like to kill or take to the crucible. And when you take an NFT to the crucible, 2 go in and 1 comes out. When you sacrifice that piece of art, you can pull 1 trait from that art and inherit it into your current piece of art. And that is one of the other ways that this collection is constantly reducing in size. I have, let's see, for this piece, I have taken 4 pieces to, I have burned 4 NFTs to create this. And so all of these different traits represent a different look and feel for the piece of artwork. You can pick and choose if you want different eyes, a different color, a different aura, a different energy. All of these traits are swappable in the kill path and in the crucible. So I have done my part. I have burned 4 of these pieces, and people are doing the same. The executioner is doing the same. Now, in this collection, so there's a couple things that people are trying to do. One is to get what's called a house set, and the very lofty goal, the other one is to get a full set. So a house set, what does that mean? So if I go over to here on the house side and I hit Helix, this is the house of Helix. Now, if you want to assemble a full set, you will need, let me go to class. Okay, this is a better explanation. Conflux. You will need one of these pieces to assemble a house set. So this conflux happens, I think it's the House of Forge. Right. Okay, so this conflux listed at 5.5 Ethereum is from the House of Forge. If you decide you want that to be the head of your army, you have to begin with a conflux. So the Forge confluxes start at 5.5. The Codex House start at 7.5. And the House of Helix also are on sale at 7.5. So this is the top piece of the puzzle if you are going to collect a house set. All of the other pieces are priced fairly close to the floor. The big piece is the conflux. Now, what gets interesting, let's say you want to spy and you have chosen the House of Forge, you're at 135. The House of Codex, you're at 0.15. The House of Helix, you're at 0.11. So if you are deciding if you would like to get in on what's happening here, and I'll speak a bit about what's coming down the pike from what I know. Assembling a house set or a full set, Phrase said it will be advantageous. It will be worth the trouble of doing so. So why are we doing this? Because there are some things coming down the pike. I think the first of which is coming down the pike in the next week or so. Maybe it's 2 weeks, but Phrase announced a collection. There's 24 different artists, and the artists that are doing this are absolutely fabulous. They're going to be doing a piece inspired from Phrase's artwork. The artists range in all kinds of outputs for what they bring to the artistic table. So I'm absolutely stoked to see what comes of this. And when we look at the traits, there are 24 archetypes. So I believe each artist has been randomly given an archetype. So these are the Titans, the Goliaths, the Colossus, the Shade. We don't need to run down all of these, but each of these, they have a different silhouette. And working with these gets really interesting. When you go to the kill path and start mixing some of these paths, it also gets interesting. Now, I just want to say this as well. If you're thinking about getting into this, okay, let's go to class conflux. So let's say you decided you want to assemble a house set, and this was your starting piece. And you decided you wanted to make some sacrifices. And you like everything about this piece, but you don't like the white. So is that Stark? Is this one Stark? No. Okay, so this palette is etched. So this is what the etched palette looks like. Now, if you wanted to take your etched palette and have it become, I don't know, another palette that people seem to like is, let's just go look at traits because that makes it super easy. And OpenSea, this is, I love this trait view on OpenSea where it lets you see kind of what's happening. So the palette Wraith seems to be the top of what people are going after. Now, there's so many ways to play this. There's so many ways to play this. But mixing and matching these different palettes is really interesting. So, for instance, this aura is called radial. And for whatever reason, I think it looks really good for a PFP. And this radiant, if for instance, I had a palette similar to the etched palette, and I added a radiant to the background, and it stayed in the same kind of stark palette that I was in, but it did add these radiant rays. So that was like a trait that I was super happy to inherit. And it's fun to do the burn path and the kill path and all of this stuff. I just wanted to run through some of the things that are going on. And this is one of these projects that is kind of, I don't know, it's just starting to run its course. And it's exciting to me. And the artist is a Giga Chad, and he's doing a bunch of good work with a bunch of good people. And again, it taps into kind of what OX Farmer is doing. When you bring distribution, it's good for everybody. I think it's this distribution and these artist one-on-ones that are going to be done. It's developing a community. And if we are at the start of a bull run and things if things actually take off in September and October, and we do get some tailwind, we could be at the races faster than you think. So I don't know. Find patience for all this stuff, because I do think it's interesting. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you if you tuned in. Oh, you know what? And sorry, I wasn't watching the chat. We are there with the TCG. Okay, so the TCG is awesome. So I'll go back over here. Let's see this. You know what? And these computers, now they have, like, I can actually film stuff down on the ground, which is crazy. But this Azuki box, one, I don't know if I should open it. I already have one that's open. I got in the Azuki Binders Special Collection, and I opened one of them, and I haven't taken the plastic off. But the cards inside, like, I don't know. They're magical. And I haven't figured out, do I open this? I don't know. But this stuff is interesting and the art is absolutely spectacular to me. So I love watching Azuki tear it up. And I don't know. I'm going to go to another one of these TCG things because I've spent some time just understanding the game. And it's like a chess game, and it requires a ton of commentary between you and your opponent. And in a time when everything is being digitized and people are listening to podcasts at 2x speed, taking a moment to slow down and interact with some people with a game that requires thought and communication and strategy, it's really cool to see people slow down and gather around this game. And these card players have been doing it for a long time, but it's neat for me to watch them try a new game that's come out. And it's not like it's come out and it's a couple places. It's come out and it's everywhere. And it's got great reviews. So watching the kids play, enjoy it, like it's fucking awesome to me. Anyway, you guys stay out of trouble, keep it real, do all that stuff. Right? It is Friday night, and I am intentionally staying in tonight because I am going to the gym early in the morning. And I figured we'll just do a little stream because I'm bored. And I just wanted to talk to myself out loud. And I figure if I do it on space, it's not as weird. But it is kind of weird if you think about it. All right.